Hey everyone, Robert here. Coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, could be the instance that our government needs to vacate our First Amendment rights, freedom of assembly, also the ability to be able to freedom to worship and all of that. It could come down to a mandatory mask wearing as well as a mandatory stay-at-home order, and the government does have a precedent in Jacobson versus Massachusetts. Now, this is a Supreme Court case that happened around 1907. And to briefly set the background of this, in 1902, there was an outbreak of smallpox, and the Board of Health of the city of Cambridge, Massachusetts, adopted a regulation ordering the vaccination or revaccination of all of its inhabitants. Now, most people complied with this, and there was a $5 fine attached for everyone who refused. $5 a day back in the early 1900s would equate to about $150 in today's dollars. But there was an individual, the last name of Jacobson, and he believed that his family had some sort of inherent trait, and he refused vaccination. He was from Sweden. Earlier on in his life, he had a vaccination, and it really hurt his body. And so because of his refusal, he was fined $5 a day. And then this kept on going, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States. Now, the Supreme Court ruled against Jacobson, and this is what the Supreme Court had to say. And the court held that in every well-ordered society charged with the duty of conserving the safety of its members, the rights of the individual in respect of his liberty may at times, under the pressure of great dangers, be subjected to such restraint to be enforced by reasonable regulations as the safety of the general public may demand, and that real liberty for all could not exist under the operation of a principle which recognizes the right of each individual person to use his own, whether in respect of his person or his property, regardless of the injury that may be done to others. So we see that this precedent may be used by our federal government or by local governments, although it'd probably be used by the federal government down the road, to enforce mandatory vaccinations, as well as mandatory mask orders and mandatory enforcement of rules coming down from on high, that being the White House and Congress, and it will be enforced by the judges and law enforcement, because if I come up and say that I want to worship in church, or I do not want to wear a face mask, it is violating my First Amendment rights or any rights under the Constitution. This precedent, Jacobson versus Massachusetts, bypasses that. And the government can say, well, I'm sorry, but your individual rights do not work with the greater good of the collective people of the United States or within your state. This precedent could be used by the authorities that be, whether it be federal or whether it be state, to say to an individual that refuses to wear a mask, that refuses vaccinations, that refuses to stay at home and instead goes to church, anything that is seen as a danger to the greater good of the public, your individual rights could be set aside. I'm saying this as a warning. This could happen, and this probably will happen. So, prepare yourselves. Links are in the description for you to read up more on this ruling. Later.